Well, we've got showers, thunderstorms, and severe weather rolling through the Northeast and down into the northern mid-Atlantic states. And there are a number of severe thunderstorm warnings, and we've even seen a few tornado warnings pop up as a cold front is moving through, and that should bring a short break to the hot and humid conditions over the next couple of days. So we'll be talking about that and everything else that'll be going on for this week ahead and a little bit of long range. And that is all tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which is brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the description to this podcast. And if you use the coupon code SPRING2024, which I haven't changed yet, I forgot to do that, but the coupon code is SPRING2024. And if you use that coupon code, you will get, and this is where Joe Rayo usually says 10% off, but I got to say 10% off because Mr. Rayo is undergoing a thunderstorm where he is, and 90 seconds into that thunderstorm, he lost power. So I'm assuming, since I haven't heard from him, that he hasn't gotten it back. So it's just me for now. But if Joe should join us, we'll plug him in and we'll go from there. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board. Welcome to those of you who are watching in the background. We appreciate you being here too. The Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast is a Sunday through Thursday event at 7:35 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays are usually off days unless there's a storm going on, in which case we do a little schedule shuffling and add a show. And of course, we'll always let you know ahead of time when we're going to do that. So if you like the show, hit the like button and make sure your notifications are on so you never miss us. So this has been a very interesting week. In some places, it's been a difficult 5 days or so, and in some cases, it's been 6 days. In other cases, it's been only maybe 2 or 3, depending on where you are. And everybody's sort of, when it comes to weather, everybody's just self-focused, okay? If it doesn't happen outside your window, in front of your mailbox, in your zip code, it doesn't matter most of the time. Sort of like, well, I don't, I really don't care what's going on everywhere else. It's not happening for me. So, in this particular case tonight, there are thunderstorms around, but not everybody is getting them. They are generally scattered, yet those cells are quite strong. And I think what I'm going to do is just go right ahead and jump to the radar as of just right now. Let me just get the right. And Joe's not here. I get a little antsy about which buttons I push. I wind up pushing the wrong buttons. So you can see these thunderstorms. They're these. We're getting, I guess we could just refer to them as sort of these line segments that are developing with thunderstorms. And you see one here that's crossing Connecticut. There's another one that comes across the Hudson Valley. And that big red spot went pretty much right over northern Putnam County, which is where Joe is getting pounded there in Putnam Valley. And now that cell is gone. But here comes the next one. That's one cell there. Here comes another one. And those continue to move on to the northeast. That second line, actually extends further north up into right along the Connecticut state line and up into western Massachusetts. We also have some strong cells in southern New Jersey. So I think what we'll do now is we're going to go back and take a look at DIX, the Fort Dix radar. This is a 4-hour loop that I'm showing. And you start to see these storms coming out of eastern Pennsylvania. You can see some big cells moved over Philadelphia and now crossing, across southern New Jersey. Got 3 patches there. One probably looks like it's off the coast of North Ocean County. Then there's another one further southwest, probably near Vineland, and back over to about Millville. You see these cells here just sort of plodding along to the east. And there's also more activity out to the west. So we may have some more to go through here. There's still some of these patchy areas of thunderstorms are scattered out throughout western and central Pennsylvania, and they're continuing to move to the east. So if you didn't get some with these first lines that have moved on through, you are possibly going to see them with the second line. Now, I'm going to just go a little bit further north. We're going to go look at the Boston radar because this has been a day where we've had a tornado watch up for Vermont, New Hampshire, and into Maine, which doesn't happen too often, and even back up into northern New York. And you see there from earlier, there was a fairly strong line of storms. There was a tornado warning earlier in Hartford. That's the second one in 2 days, by the way. So I'm just going to take a quick look here at Tornado HQ and see what's going on. So we have a severe thunderstorm warning. This is as of 7:42 p.m. Eastern time. We have a severe thunderstorm warning in Delaware, New Jersey, and in Pennsylvania, the counties of Newcastle, Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, Salem, and then Delaware County, Montgomery, and Philadelphia counties. This was issued about 18 minutes ago. It still has another half hour to run. It's 7:42 p.m. Eastern time. And just a quick reminder, if you're watching, um, obviously, if you're watching this on a replay, everything is dated, so be sure to go to weather.gov to get the latest weather information regarding severe weather in your neck of the woods. I'm just checking to see in Maine, there is one severe thunderstorm warning near Litchfield, Maine, or about 9 miles north of Lewiston, Maine, moving northeast at 45, and that is going to be expiring in less than 2 minutes. So that's the one warning that we have up to the north. There is a severe thunderstorm warning that was issued about a half hour ago for Fairfield County in Connecticut and for Putnam, Rockland, and Westchester counties in New York. And that was for a storm moving east at 40 miles an hour. And that kind of covers New Jersey and the Hudson Valley. There are other warnings early, have all expired. There were three counties in Pennsylvania, Allegheny, Beaver, and Washington County that's expired. There was an other earlier severe thunderstorm warning in Atlantic, Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, and Salem counties. That has expired as well. So at least for now, I think we're all caught up with what's going on with respect to severe weather. I'm just going to jump to another radar here. Let's look at the Albany radar, and then most of it's to the east of all. Well, you see the lines to the east, and then there's another approaching line here that moves on through. That has moved into Vermont and now continues to move on to New Hampshire. You also see what's going on down in Connecticut, where there's a line now in western Connecticut, and you see it here coming out of the Hudson Valley, and it's just kind of plot along. Looks like a very heavy cell down there in northern Fairfield reaching down from Litchfield County down into northern Fairfield County, south of Route 84, or actually right on Route 84, and moving along to the east. And here's the wider view of what's happening on the radars right now. I'm going to give it just a quick refresh here. So we've got the cells that are overhead at the moment. And then you see these others that are still lagging behind. The cold front is to the west, and so is the upper trough. So some of these cells, because the upper trough here is involved, may wind up holding together a bit longer than they otherwise would if it were just a day like yesterday, where once you get close to sundown, the radars yesterday evening were pretty impressive, and the same happened on Friday night. Very impressive, and they all just pretty much fell apart and died out once we got past 7:30 and 8 o'clock Eastern time. So I think these are probably going to hold on a little longer because there's a front involved, and you see them back in western Pennsylvania, southern Ohio, down into West Virginia and eastern Kentucky. We've got downpours and some thunderstorms also in a higher concentration up in the state of Maine. There's some activity on the north of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, is actually in Lake Superior and over on the other side to Lake Huron, just kind of touching land. That area of rain is actually sinking southward. And we've got some scattered showers and thunderstorms in parts of the southwest U.S., from Colorado and Utah down to New Mexico and Arizona and on up into northwest Texas. So at the moment, we have a severe thunderstorm watch that is up for much of Pennsylvania except the northwestern quarter of it, and also into the Hudson Valley and back up into the Catskills and the western counties of New Jersey. We still have tornado watches up for Vermont and parts of New Hampshire and a small part of southwestern Maine and a couple of counties in eastern New York. Uh, that watch was a whole lot bigger an hour or two ago, but it is getting whittled away now that that weather front is moving on through. Heat advisories up from Mississippi, Louisiana, and northeast Texas northeastward up into the Central Plains as some hot weather gets into that region of the country. We also have heat advisories and some excessive heat warnings in parts of the interior and now even the coastal counties of California. So here's the satellite loop tonight, and you'll notice, quite a few lightning strikes going on here up in New England, back through Pennsylvania, over in parts of New Jersey with those cells that are moving on through. And then we've got storms that extend down into West Virginia and even into eastern Tennessee, but not to me. It has not rained here. I can't remember the last time it's rained here. It has to be at least 7 days since we've last seen since I've seen any rain. And very quickly, the ground gets dry here very fast and bakes almost to like cement. So it's been nice and sunny every day. And while Atlanta today was they were forecasting a high of 99 in Atlanta. I don't know if they got that high. I'm just going to take a look and see what it is right now. 95 right now in Atlanta. And they just to see what they got on the hour. It got to 97. Now I'm 100, a little over 100 miles northeast of Atlanta, and I'm also 1,400 feet higher. So my high here was 88. So I was a good 7 degrees cooler. And by the way, the dew points here, the dew point in Atlanta with that 95 temperature is 58. Okay. The dew points here have been mostly in the 50s the last several days, even though it's gotten really warm and we've had temperatures well up in mid to upper 80s. Uh, it it still feels reasonably comfortable, and I certainly am okay with that. So uh, as long as the dew points stay down, I'm good. So the Storm Prediction Center, pretty much on top of all this activity today, they had an enhanced risk and still do. Vermont, New Hampshire, and northern Massachusetts and eastern New York. All of this is playing out now. You see the slight risk that goes from Maine down through New Jersey and into all of Pennsylvania. We're also seeing the slight risk extending as far south as just the North Virginia Maryland border, and then it goes back to southeast Ohio, western West Virginia, and eastern Kentucky. The marginal risk extending back into northeastern Arkansas. We also have a small area of marginal risk and some slight risk in North Dakota and in eastern Montana. The tornado risk was actually we had a very large area. They shrunk it down late this afternoon. But that 5% area was where the 10% area was. They had a pretty sizable 10% risk zone. Uh, Now they've shrunk it down. Southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire, and northern Massachusetts, and the 5% that surrounds that. But still, that's pretty ample for the Northeast. You don't often see. You see 2% risk, and sometimes you see 5. You really don't see 10 all that often. Tomorrow, severe weather risk shifts away from the Northeast and moves into the northern plains and the western lakes, where we have a marginal to slight risk. The slight risk area from central and northwestern Wisconsin into Minnesota and eastern North Dakota, and that comes with a 2% tornado risk. And then as we look at day 3, and this is Tuesday into Wednesday, there's going to be another weather front that's going to start swinging eastward. We have a marginal to slight risk in the Great Lakes, extending back into the Middle Mississippi, Missouri River Valley area, northern Missouri into Iowa, western Nebraska, eastern Nebraska, eastern Kansas. The bottom line of the marginal goes down south of St. Louis and then extends east into the middle of Ohio, cutting out right near the Pennsylvania state line, near Erie, Pennsylvania, right along the shores of Lake Erie. And as far as rain is concerned, over the next 7 days, we're looking at, and this count tonight counts, so we're talking here a half to three quarters of an inch. You see some pockets of an inch and a half plus. It's convection season, so sometimes if you get into a thunderstorm in a situation where they're crawling, it's quite likely that you could wind up seeing double the forecast amounts. That happens quite a bit. We're seeing they've had very heavy rains in Minnesota, in parts of Minnesota, or have had some serious flash flooding, an additional half to three quarters of an inch there. The heavier rain next 7 days into northwestern Illinois, much of central and eastern Iowa, down into northern Missouri. From Virginia down to Georgia, most of the area is only about a quarter of an inch over the next 7 days, a quarter of an inch or less. Some heavier precip in South Florida, up to a couple of inches. Texas is mostly dry. The Gulf states, a little rain along the Gulf Coast, but nothing much to speak of. Pockets of a half an inch here and there, mostly a quarter to a half in Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona. We're looking at areas anywhere from just a couple of tenths to some areas of a half to three quarters of an inch, mainly in western Colorado through central and western New Mexico, and much of the west coast is pretty quiet. So let's take a look at where the pattern's going. We are approaching, today is the 23rd, so we only got a week left of June and going into July. And if we take a look at the upper air pattern, it's one, unlike last week, I'm just backing it up to Thursday, where we've had, this ridge in the eastern part of the United States. And by the way, it was way overdone in terms of the strength as the models were forecasting this back 10 days or so ago. I mean, it just went absolutely berserk, and we saw models generate some ridiculous numbers, and people sort of jumped on, some forecasters jumped on it with these big 100, 109. I mean, none of those numbers were reality. Newark got to 100 yesterday. Um, oh, I'm sorry. Newark got to 100 on Friday in between hours. I don't think it made it yesterday. And no, it did not make it yesterday because I remember looking in the middle of the day, they had an east wind. So they got to about 91 or 2 and then it just stopped. I think today they got to about 96 or 7. So, there were just a couple of spots here and there that saw the temperatures reach the century mark in the Northeast. Heat wave's been particularly tough in Maine, where we've had mid to upper 90s in northern Maine for several days in a row, but that's now been relaxed as this upper ridge has been flattening out since Friday. And you see it sort of goes away, and now we've got this shortwave trough that's swinging east, and this is bringing the cold front and the thunderstorms, and in some cases the severe weather this evening. That front, that trough is going to move across New England on Monday. So it will bring down a shot of lower humidity. I think the temperatures will obviously ease from today's highs that were up in the middle and in a few places the upper 90s. We're going to see that trough lift out, which means that it will probably start to warm up again, particularly on Wednesday. Wednesday looks like the hot day this week. It'll get very warm on Tuesday, and then Wednesday looks like the hot day this week. But here comes another shortwave trough. So we got another shortwave and another cold front coming through probably Wednesday night. And with this shortwave trough moving along with it, which it's not the strongest trough in the world, but it's not the weakest either. So there might be another chance for some stronger thunderstorms Wednesday night. Then that lifts out. And then as we get into the last weekend of June, there's an east-west ridge across the south. So the jet stream, the southern edge of the jet stream is running from just south of Boston to about New York City, across central Ohio into northern Missouri. So you've got cooler air around the Great Lakes and points northward. And that line I described is probably the edge. And the northern jet looks like it wants to have more control. So another short wave comes through next Sunday. And then we go into the week of the 4th of July, which, it again, that northern jet's going to be close. So as long as that's the case, it probably can't get hot for more than a day or so. When I say hot, I'm talking about 90 plus. It probably won't be able to get hot for more than a day or two. uh, and then a cold front's going to come through. As long as we've got this, that flow from Canada is still opened up, and it does appear to be opened up as we go past July 4th and beyond. I'm just trying to see as we go through the last days of this recent run of the GFS, you start to get a little more of a ridge in the east. But uh, the overall pattern, I think, for the next 10 days is going to be, yeah, well, it will get hot, but there will also be cold fronts to bring breaks. And I think that's important because, it's these long stretches. And by the way, this particular stretch was nothing remarkable. There was, as it turned out, there was really nothing remarkable about it for eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, anyway. Uh, we've had stretches of 10, 12, and 13 days of 90 plus. And even in June, we've had some long stretches that certainly longer than this one. So our front comes through. We dry out tomorrow. Temperatures will ease a little bit. And then as we move along, we'll turn a little warmer on Tuesday. I think the dew points will still be in check. Probably be some areas getting back up close to 90 on Tuesday. And then Wednesday will probably turn out to be a hot day with temperatures in the 90s. We'll see a cold front. You see the showers and thunderstorms, and that front actually will extend down into Tennessee and back into Arkansas with some showers and thunderstorms there. It gets pretty far south for this time of year. And then that front goes out, keeps on moving. So Thursday, it looks like we'll probably see lower temperatures and lower humidities if the model is right on the timing, lasting for Friday, and then we go into the weekend and Saturday. And a little bit, the high goes out off the Gulf of Maine, and here comes the next cold front that wants to go through sometime. At least the model is timing it for Sunday morning. Oftentimes, it's either going to come through Saturday night or it's going to come through Sunday evening. So we'll have to figure out the timing of this front as we go through the week, and then after that, another dry air mass comes in behind it, and so this is actually for for the summertime. This is not too shabby as long as we have these weather fronts going by every couple of days. We're not going to roast, which is a good thing. So I'm gonna check the Hurricane Center out, and the southeast the disturbance off the southeast coast is long gone. It was very small, fell apart when it moved inland into southeast Georgia and South Carolina. Really didn't do anything. There's nothing with that, and the subsequent low in the southwest Gulf of Mexico never really did get going. The remnant system is right on the coast now, moving inland, and so that's not going to develop. And there's no tropical cyclone development forecast over the next 7 days. And the other thing is a little probably uh, it's very interesting that we may, the way this is going, we may wind up going through the month of June and not seeing a tropical cyclone in the Eastern Pacific. Now that's unusual. It's usually in the Eastern Pacific it throws out one or two in June, sometimes one or two in May, and even another one or two in June. But it's been very quiet on the Eastern Pacific side. So that's probably an indication of the fact that the La Nina is doing its thing. So I'm guessing that Mr. Rayo is not going to be with us tonight. He must still be out of power. So, and he's got Burler Jeopardy. So we'll be doing that, I suppose, tomorrow. Silvio Balzano, they just canceled the severe thunderstorm watch in Putnam. It was supposed to be in effect until 10. Yeah, with the way these storms are set up, now you've just got what's to the west, so probably those are not going to reach severe levels. The atmosphere played with what it had with the storms that just developed, and now the other ones that will follow, if whoever gets them, those will probably be less intense than the ones that formed this evening. Let's going to give another quick check of the radar here. So let's do that. And uh, okay, hold on just a second. Go back to the this radar, just check out what's going on. So, you've got some strong cells along the New Jersey coast right now, moving out to the east with several special marine warnings. And we still have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings in southern New Jersey. We've got several severe thunderstorm warnings in Connecticut. Let me check out what Tornado HQ is telling us. And yes, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Hartford County, and also for Fairfield, Middlesex, and New Haven counties in Connecticut. Those were issued, uh, let's see, the Fairfield, Middlesex, New Haven was at about 7:40, and the Hartford County was issued at about 7:55 p.m. Eastern Time. And these are going to expire. The Fairfield, Middlesex, New Haven one expires in less than 30 minutes. The Hartford County one expires in 45 minutes. So again, if you're watching this on a replay, all of this is dated because we were live from 7:30 p.m. On, and right now it's 8:02 p.m. Eastern Time. So be sure that you check weather.gov for the latest weather information in your area. We also have severe thunderstorm warnings in Marion, Monongalia County and Preston County in West Virginia. They got to make these counties easier to pronounce. We have another one in Tennessee in Campbell, Claiborne, and Union County. That's those I can do. And I think that probably covers it. I still have this one warning, the one in southern New Jersey for Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, Salem counties, Newcastle County in Delaware, and in Delaware County and Montgomery County and Philadelphia County in Pennsylvania. That warning will expire at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. So still some work to do, and still some storms out to the west. There's a nasty looking line that's forming. Looks like from just southwest of Williamsport down to about Altoona. And you can see that area there on the radar. We'll see what that does as it moves along. And then there's some other stronger storms in southwest PA and down back into West Virginia. All of this with the cold front, all of it moving along to the east. So I think that's pretty much it. There's not much more to me for me to say. So we're just going to wrap it up now. And thank you everybody that watched tonight on the chat board. I got the solo, which I don't get to do very often anymore, and I'm not used to it. It's hard when you work every night with your partner and he's not here. I'm kind of lost not having him. It's like Abbott without Costello, or Laurel without Hardy. So anyhow, um, everybody have a great night. We will see you all tomorrow at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time.